All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of Game Night, ESPN 1025 The Game, and our Facebook page. It's something we've had a lot of fun with over the last month or so. Chase McCabe here with you, and former Titan safety Michael Griffin is our guest tonight. Michael, how's it going? It's been a while. Good to see you.
It's going great. Can't complain outside of this whole quarantine thing, but it's everything's starting to ease back up, and you're starting to see people being more out and about than usual as the last 3 months. But it's going real well for me.
Where are you these days? You're not in Nashville anymore, right? Are
No,
you in
not in
Texas or?
Nashville. I'm in Austin, Texas right now, back where I'm born and raised. Should be going back to Nashville. Believe my wife booked some flights for June 30th or something there, and we'll spend the 4th down there in Nashville. So we'll
Very
be there.
cool.
Yes, sir.
Has that kind of been in retirement life? You kind of go back and forth
Yeah,
between the two, or?
my wife is from Nashville, so
Right.
we go there periodically, or her family comes here. So she's trying to itch me to get back to Nashville, move back there. But right now we're contemplating, bought a couple of lots, haven't decided what we're going to do, if we're going to build here or build there. So we're still up in the air right now.
Very, very cool. Well, I do want to start this off before we tell some stories and talk some football. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our nation right now, and
Mhm.
as somebody that has a platform as an athlete and an African American, I mean, just what are some things that stand out to you with everything going on in our country with George Floyd and then the protests and people speaking out?
It's a lot, because I mean, if you get on social media right now, it's so big right now, and you have a big platform, and again, it's so many things that you're getting thrown at you, such as are people really from where they are? The most recent thing that I've noticed was here in Austin. There was a 16-year-old young man that was shot by a sniper with a rubber bullet, and he's in critical condition right now and things of that nature. But he was pretty much innocent. But you also hear that there's people that's not even from Austin that are here doing a little bit of vandalizing here and there that are being arrested. So it's I don't know, it's kind of up in there with mixed feelings. And again, it just has to be a conversation. There has to be a conversation and communication. And the biggest thing with that is, you know, don't have a conversation or don't talk to somebody if you're just listening to respond, but you're trying to comprehend and understand where each person is coming from. We have a Facebook group in my community, in my neighborhood, and somebody wrote that that supposedly they're going to start rioting in the affluent white neighborhoods. And my response was, is this an affluent neighborhood or is this a affluent white neighborhood? And she got kind of offensive, and I was like, I'm not trying to offend you, I'm just having a conversation, because one of my neighbors is white and the other neighbor is not white, and my wife is biracial. So I'm just trying to have that conversation of, when did we start labeling neighborhoods by races rather than by the
Right.
community? And I lived on Souderwood Lane when I was in Nashville, and I lived in Brentwood, and I didn't think you consider Brentwood was Brentwood. It wasn't, oh, this is a white city, if you know
Right.
what I so mean. So and again, we had that conversation, and it kind of blew up with some other people, and me and her ended up having a discussion, and me, her, and another young man are supposed to sit down at our local pavilion in our pool and just have an open conversation, just to talk about, just life in general, just to see where, each other come from. I remember my first week in Nashville. I remember walking my dog outside the gate in my community, and a man pulled over and was like, "Hey, you boy, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm lost. What do you mean?" And he was just like, "Why are you over here? You're not supposed to be here." And I was like, "Okay, I was, my first time out of Texas, and 22-year-old young man, that's just where things get carried away. And then if you're not, understanding or being respectful or trying to have your guard up, there's a lot of things was going through my mind at that time. And that again was in 2007, and we're talking about we're still having issues till 2020. So it's just an open conversation that everybody has to be willing to really open up and talk about, and allow people to express their views and their thoughts and things, and see how you can reach a common ground.
Yeah, very well said. And I think that a lot of the things that I've been reading are, people may not understand what somebody else is going through. And I think that that's where a lot of this sort of thing comes from, is, and it's from lack of communication, like you said. And I know how I feel about things, and my friends, like, I'm everybody's everybody. I just see people. That's always been me. That's kind of how I've been brought up. But I also understand that not everyone had that, and had that type of education, and that's what this is. This is all about educating of where everybody comes from. And so I agree with you. It's about conversation, and if people want to express themselves and have protests, I totally support that. Now, when it gets violent, that doesn't do any good.
Yeah,
It
it
just
gets
takes away
violent.
from
I
it.
mean, the violent part. And again, I understand both ends. I mean, when you are silent, and again, if we want to go back to the Colin Kaepernick thing, and if we all remember correctly, he initially sat on the bench. He just didn't
Hmm.
participate in the national anthem. It took Nate Boyer, who also went to University of Texas, who was a veteran, who had a conversation with Colin Kaepernick that said, if you just kneel in attention to the flag, that was a compromise. And
Sure.
that was a conversation that they had, and they both was willing to agree to disagree, but let's just meet in the middle, which they did, and it still blew up. And I know everybody's saying it's kneeling to the flag and it's disrespect, but me, I mean, what do you say to me when I have both my parents served in the military? Both was retired, both met over in Germany, both got married after knowing each other for 4 months, and they're still married today. And my dad is 67 and my mom is 64, and they got married at 18 and 21. So I guess, people, you don't know this flag and this is this, and I served the country. My mom and my dad served the country.
Sure.
And so when I have that conversation and I sit back, and I was a former player at the time when everything was going on, I asked my mom, I asked my dad, hey, do y'all have a problem? And they're like, no, we don't. We fought for the country. The flag is a symbol, but then if we fought for freedom of speech. And so again, it's just a conversation that needs to be had, because again, if I say I'm not trying to disrespect the flag, I'm just having a silent protest and understand why I'm kneeling, not trying to say, well, don't do that, do this. Or don't, how do you tell somebody how to protest? How do you tell somebody to react, or how to show their emotions when things are going on? And unless you've been in those shoes and things in that nature. And again, the conversation that me and this young lady and this young man are having, and I told him, I remember her verbatim said, I grew up in a rough neighborhood where there was gun violence and there was gangs and there was robberies. And my response was, I grew up as a young Black male in a predominantly all white neighborhood. But I remember in the 4th, 5th grade, walking home from school, and I could point to the house to this day in Oak Hill. The community is Oak Hill. That was a neighborhood. And a Jeep drives by. I remember like it was yesterday. It was 3 kids in the car and got called the N-word. 4th, 5th grader. I'm the same age as my daughter right now. And I remember going home and asking my mom and my dad, what does that mean? Because I never experienced that before. And then from there, going to the 5th grade and being accused of selling drugs and things of that nature because I had nice clothes. My parents in the military. Everybody knows you shop on a military base. It's tax-free. It has its perks of being in the military. So things of that nature. Then being accused of being in a gang in middle school because I was hanging around, quote unquote, the wrong kids. And then going to high school and nobody knew who I was because I didn't go to the same middle school that fed into the high school. And then just in general. And it was crazy because when I got to high school, I remember the first time I heard the N-word again, but it was the white kids talking to each other. Not to me, but to each other. And it was like, okay, y'all hear all these songs and you hear music and stuff, and all of a sudden you start using them loosely because,
Right.
again, and I just said, listen, I know what the word means. It does not pertain to me. If y'all want to use it amongst yourselves, I can't control that. Just be respectful of me and don't use it towards me.
Right.
And, again, I went to a school with about 3,600 kids, and there was only about 50 of us was Black between 9th to 12th grade. So again, it was something that, again, being Black and growing up in a white community in the neighborhoods and being going to predominantly white schools, great schools. Again, that's what my parents are striving for, to put me in the best schools, looking at, where they ranked in the city, and then that's where neighborhoods we were going to move into, because those were the neighborhoods that fed into these schools. They were trying to give me the best education as possible. And again, those were the things going through that I dealt with, which my father didn't deal with, but thank God I had a twin brother that dealt with the same thing. So, a lot of things have happened, and I feel like, again, and I tell people all the time, the way I look, and it goes both ways, because I had a conversation one time with one of my neighbors. I say, when you grow up in a community like this, your only interaction of somebody of me is somebody like me, which you may view as not the norm, which is an athlete. So you kind of blinded by, okay, that's a Black man, but hold on, that's an athlete. He's like a superstar. He's somewhere that we all dreamed about. That's somebody that we saw on TV, compared to, X, Y, and Z that I see out and about. And again, it's just a conversation, because sometimes it's upsetting. Sometimes, young kids, like my daughter goes to school and has that conversation of, well, the young girls are asking me, why does my hair look like this? Why do I look like this? Why is my skin color? Why is my wife is biracial. Right. Why is your mom white, but you're Black? I don't understand. And then again, like conversations that need to be said, needs to be spoke, not only amongst all of us, no matter race, because we're all humans, we all look the same on the inside. But it's just a conversation that needs to be brought out, and let's stop pretending like it does not exist, because it does exist.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And very well said by you. One thing that happened today is the Titans had like a media availability with some of the defensive coaches, and Mike Vrabel, the head coach, jumped in as a part of it and discuss everything that's been going on, and how a lot of the conversations that he's had over the last few days with his players have been about this, and hadn't been about football. It's been about just, society and how he can help and everything going on. Rashaan Evans brought that up with us today. So I bring that up to ask you what, if at any point in your career, whether it was back at Texas with Mac Brown or Jeff Fisher here with the Titans, or any head coach that you had, what kind of conversations did you all have sometimes that maybe were about this type of situation of racism and just being better humans?
You know what? I don't think it was you know what? It was funny because me and Big Country, David Stewart, I remember we were both hurt at the same time as last year before he retired. And I remember everybody because he never really spoke. He was very quiet, but on the field, he was a man amongst boys. We used to laugh at Bernard Pollard because there was a picture of David Stewart holding Bernard Pollard. And we used to laugh and be like, ooh, you're lucky you're on our team now. But I just remember just having a conversation because, and again, it's like I'm here and I'm there, and it was like, he was into like the outdoor life. He was like a hunter. And it was the exact opposite. And I remember we was both hurt. I remember I tore my quad and he had an injury. I can't remember exactly what it was. And we literally just started talking for the first time, just getting to know one another. And it was the first time, we played on the same team for years. And it was just getting to know who he was as a person, because no one ever knew. Everybody had speculation of who he was. And he was very, him and the offensive line were very close. But outside of that, no one really knew who he was. And I remember us just being in the training room every day rehabbing, and I really got to know him and really got to see who he really was. And I think, again, you judge a book by its cover, and I think that's an example to me of just, when you assume, when you think this is who that person is. You're on a team of 53 players, and it's hard to get to know everybody. But if you're on the same team for a long period of time and you become one of the veterans on the team, I almost feel like in order for a team to be that much better, your veteran guys need to know who they are and know how they can trust and know each and every person on their team that if somebody does have issues, somebody else, this guy over here has dealt with something similar to what you have dealt with. Or maybe this person over here can help you with what you're dealing with, or this person is from there, or he likes this, or and things in that. And I think Brian Orakpo said it the best on Twitter the other day. He said he wished the world could be just like a football locker room because we all come from different societies and different cultural backgrounds. And we do not see race whatsoever. We see your teammates and your brothers because we go out there on the field and we sweat and we bleed together. We're tired together. We're picking each other up. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And he just said that he just wished that that's how the real world was in real society. And I used to always say we were trapped in this little bubble because even when you're in college and even when you're in high school as an athlete, you're pretty much in the same core classes that all your teammates are. So you're kind of just naturally, attracted to people that are like yourself. And you're kind of blinded as long as you're playing, you're kind of blinded by everything that's going on the outside world because everything is just so great because you're in this small little bubble. We all got the same problems. You work too much and you got a family at home and you got to make time for the wife and kids. But again, our time going out was, hey, we're going to bring the wives with us to try to close their mouths and make them sound like, hey, remember when I took you out and we all went out and had a great time, but hey, we put the wives over with each other and all us guys start having a great time because we enjoy being around each other. And when you're away from the game of football, that's what you miss the most. It's not being on the field and, the fans screaming and all the stress. It's just being with your teammates. I remember the first year, people asked me, why you didn't call and check on me? Why you didn't talk to me? Whatever. And I just felt like I was bothering y'all. I remember when I played and people text me and whatever, and I just felt like your phone is always buzzing and somebody wants something. So I said, I felt the same way. I didn't want to bother y'all just to say great game or good luck or how's it going or how's the family, congratulations on the little one or whatever it was. So that's what you really miss. And then you get trying to adjust to the real world and you start seeing the real issues. You start seeing things that go on each and every day. And so, again, it's like right now, I think the reason why everybody is so wild and everybody's so – because, one, we've been trapped in our house for the last 3 months, and then this happens, and then it's like it's an uproar. And everybody thought 2020 was supposed to be his best year, but it just seems like this year is just going down, 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 down. No matter what happens, something else is just popping up left and right.
I know. It's been we were talking to somebody earlier today, and I mean, I guess it really started with Kobe Bryant, and his daughter and everyone on the helicopter passing away and in that crash, and then it just all these other things have happened in 2020. But hopefully it picks up here in the second half. Chase McCabe, Michael Griffin, former Titans safety, hanging out with us. So you brought up post-football and what that's been like. I know you did a little bit with as a coaching intern. You tried that for a little bit, but you've also been with the Longhorn Network as well. But so how has post-football been for you?
It's been great. People ask me all the time, do I miss it? And the answer is I just miss the locker room. I don't miss the game whatsoever. Being able to spend time with my kids, I mean, people take those things for granted to be able to watch your kids walk, crawl, walk, just all those experiences. I had my youngest daughter as soon as after I got married. I had her 9 months later. And just watching the whole process. My son, being able to spend more time with him. He lived in Dallas at the time when I was playing in Tennessee. So I remember I remember from August to like January, I would probably see him maybe 5 times. And when I did see him, it would be at the football games and it would be before the game and at halftime. And I remember he had to jump on a flight and go back home. So I just remember that, those times that I missed all those times with him. But now he's 12 years old and I'm getting to watch him. He started playing football last year. It was his first time. And he really turned it on towards the end of the season. My oldest daughter, she's playing soccer. She's one of the top 2010 girls in select soccer. She normally played up, but now they dropped her and 5 of her teammates down to their regular age group because they're playing select now. So they dropped them down they're on a travel team. So they'll be traveling a lot more this year, going to Vegas. think New Mexico, Kansas City. Those are the teams that's in her division. So we're doing a lot of traveling with her. She's one of the top girls in soccer. And for myself, of course, we got the Gigi's Cupcakes going and
Yeah.
Longhorn Network going and found a new hobby. I love to ride motorcycles on the racetrack. So it's been a real thrill for me. So it's actually fun. I try to stay off the streets, but normally on the racetrack. So full leather gear, helmet, 180 plus miles per hour. It's kind of fun.
Oh, very cool. That does sound like a lot of fun.
Real fun.
Definitely adds that excitement like you get.
Oh, it definitely has an adrenaline rush. It's definitely an adrenaline rush, but it's not racing. It's more of like so the Formula One Coda track that's here in Austin, they a different group rents it out. You pay a fee and you go out there and you have different riding groups, and it's safe. There's different rules and regulations that you can do, but it's a little bit over 3 miles track, so you pretty much can 3 miles in 2 minutes and some. You can pretty much see how fast you're really going.
That's awesome. So you mentioned your son playing football, and I'm always curious of what that conversation's like between somebody that spent his entire life playing football, made a career out of it, and then when one of their kids is like, hey, I'm interested in it. Obviously we know a lot more about the safety and the long-term effects of football than we did when you started playing. So what was that whole process like for you as a father, and also of not wanting him to feel like, well, dad played football, so I got to play football, and having that conversation?
It started way before, because I played at Texas, and his mother ran track at Texas, and she holds a lot of records in high school in track, and he's named after me, but he's not a junior. His middle name is different. He goes by his middle name. So from day one, I never wanted him to be in my shoes or have to think about anything. So he goes by Braylon. A lot of people don't even know that his first name is Michael Griffin and everything else. So he doesn't even go by it. For the longest, he didn't want to play. I remember him going to the games when he was younger, and he used to see me beat up, barely walked, tore my quad, separated shoulder, surgeries, everything. He was like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Then one day he just randomly like, Dad, I want to play football. And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? And he's like, I want to play football. I'm like, why? And he was like, well, my friends are all playing, so I want to go play. So I was like, you don't want to play because of me? He's like, no, I want to play because all my friends are playing. So that's what turned him on, was him and all his friends. He used to always play at recess at school. He was the guy that always brought the football in his backpack to school every day, and they just turned him on. Now, I will say, he got a rude awakening the first day when he got out there, because it wasn't as easy as recess. But again, he's getting the hang of it. He's getting the hang of it, and I enjoy it. Am I one of those dads that I'm the dad that says, listen, give all you got. Don't waste your teammates' time. Don't waste your coach's time. Give it all you got. At the end of the day, win, lose, draw, I do not care. I've done it. I just want to know, if you're going to do it, if you're going to say you're going to do it, you're making a commitment. And if you make the commitment, you need to follow through with it. Give it everything you got. So that's the one thing I try to preach to my kids, is don't ever tail anything. So that's that's my main thing to my kids, is if you're going to do it, give it all you got. Do not have any regrets when it's all said and done.
Is he a DB?
He's played wide receiver, and he plays little DB. The coach is he does all the reverses, like literally. I have not, and I'm not saying this just to say it, but I have not seen a kid his age beat him in running yet. And his mom says it's from his. I agree. His mom, all her brothers ran track in college. One of her brothers tried out for the Olympics, and he tore his pec while he was running, which is weird. But I guess he gets his speed from her side of the family.
Wow. Well, very cool. Best of luck to all your kids as dad gets to support them during this. So one thing that it's going to be weird seeing the Titans without Jarrell Casey. You play with Jarrell for for a long time. I mean, he's a staple with the Titans. And I had a conversation with him last year at training camp as things had really started to turn around, and they were very hyped up for what that season was going to look like. And we all know how it ended. It ended up going to the AFC title game. But he referenced early in his career that, hey, we did a lot of losing. We had a lot of tough times. You won a national championship at Texas. You had a lot of success there. So how important is it for players today that come from programs like that, go to the NFL where you never know what's going to happen? You have a lot of roster turnover, but basically learning how to lose, because that's a part of the game. That's something that I think is hard for people, that you don't always know what that's like, and then when you do get to successes and winning, that makes it that much better.
I don't think you technically learn how to lose. You play this game to win. I know we did lose a lot. I remember we went 2-14, 3-13. It was tough. I mean, I just remember just being in that locker room, and it was like I literally counted on my finger one time, like how many quarterbacks that we had that started. It was just like, this is crazy. I remember all the defensive coordinators, all the defense. We had the Titans was a turnover. It was a high turnover. I mean, I played for 3 head coaches or 4 head coaches, at least 3 first-round quarterbacks, but not to mention some of the veteran quarterbacks that we brought in. At the safety position, I remember at one point, like every week, it was like Russian roulette, with like what other safety was going to start alongside of me. Trying to find that next middle linebacker. When Keith Bullock left to captain the defense, it was like trying to find Stephen Tulloch did a great job, but then he left. And then at the cornerback position, Cortland left, and we still had Jason McCoy, and Byrne was there, and then Alteron Burner left. It was just like a revolving door on everything. It was like nothing was like a staple. And again, it starts from, you say it starts from the top of the organization. And the one thing I see right now, the organization is going, you got Amy in there. She's doing a great job. Great job. The city loves her. I love her. She's been fantastic. Then you hired our general manager. I was through 3 GMs. The third one finally got me. So John Robinson let me go. I think that was his first active duty he did. And I told him he might have did the best. That might have been the best thing he's ever done. I told him this straight to his face. That might have been the best thing he ever done, because you got Kevin Byard. That was impressive. I don't know if that was a lucky shot or you should go to Vegas or what, because you released me, and literally you went in the draft and drafted a guy from right down the street, literally, that did not go to the combine, but had every accolade. 19 interceptions in college is like unbelievable. I don't care what. I don't care where you play at. 19 is unbelievable, especially from the safety position. It's unbelievable. So, and right now, I think he's already, after year 4, he's already past 19. So he let you know that he could do it in 4 years. And I can just imagine another 4 years what he could do. So he's barely scratching the surface. The game is starting to slow down a lot for him. And he's definitely, he's ball magnet for sure. Ball magnet, and they let him blitz and starting to let him play down line of scrimmage. He makes a lot of big plays. He comes up big when you need him. So that's great. But again, learn how to lose is hard. But when it starts from the top, when you get a strong foundation like Amy, then you follow with a GM, then a head coach, and from there, you just saw that it just trickled on down. That way, when the players can trust the coaches and know that they know what they're doing and put them in the right positions, that definitely strengthens that team. And then, instead of hiring another offensive coordinator from outside, you let Arthur get his shot. And I know everybody had a question mark on him earlier, but I was there. Arthur, people don't understand. Arthur was on I met Arthur when he was like I forgot what he was, but during my visit during the draft process, I remember going to Washington Redskins, and he was there, drove me around, we spoke, and then I remember he came over with Jerry Gray, and I remember he used to know everything, and he was on the defense side of the ball. Then he went to the offensive side of the ball, became a tight ends coach, and that's all she wrote. He's been around and he knows his players, and I think that was just a great opportunity for him. He knew everybody on the offensive side of the ball, knew what he could do.
Yeah.
He knows the defense, he knows offense. He did a tremendous job. I know people were kind of like, let's trying to put him on the cutting block earlier in the season, but again, I like the fact that they stuck with him, and that's the one thing when you have a strong foundation, the coaches trust one another. That's all that matters. Stop listening to the outside eye and listen to everybody. That's within, and that's what they did the last 2 years or 3 years, and that's why they've been doing so well.
What kind of relationship did you have with Vrabel? Just playing against him, or did you know him at all?
I played against Vrabel, but that was it. Played against him. That was really about it. Nothing outside of that. I just played against him. Remember, I played against him with Kansas City. So
yeah.
Thank you for telling
me. Say what?
Thank you for telling me my age.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. One thing that comes up though about him, and when I talk to players, is just that he still got that player mentality, because he hadn't been retired all that long, and he likes to show that.
You know what? I remember being there and just listening in like his coaches meetings when I did my intern, and you would see that he still has the player mentality. And it's just like it's funny because some things that come out of his mouth when he's talking to like coaches and players, and you're like, okay, like I just retired. Do I need to be like coach and like not laugh and bite my tongue, or do I just laugh? Because it's almost like being in the locker room when you're talking to him. So he's a great guy though. I mean, one thing that you know is he's gonna tell you how to do it. If you can't do it, then he's gonna show you how to do it. And that's the most amazing thing, is because it's like when you look at him, you're like, I don't think you want him to show you how to do it, because he can still do it if you realize he played on defense and he played on offense. So if he needs to show you how to block, he needs to show you how to rush the passer, drop back in coverage, he can do it all. So that's the thing that you like about him, because he can definitely give you examples. He's definitely hands-on. He's very honest. And that's all you can ask from a coach, is as an honest person that is hands-on, that and you respect him more, because you're like, when he tells you to do something and you know that he's done it before, you're like, okay, it makes sense because I know you've done it before. And compared to somebody who's never done it, sometimes you kind of question them, like, why can't I do it this way? Instead of just reading the book and saying, do the X's and O's, but show me how to do it. And that's the one thing he can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing last week, Taylor Lewan, I know you played with his rookie year, and I think a couple of years you guys played together. And he has obviously evolved and changed and grown up. But one thing that came up with him is that he wants to be more of a leader with this team, and something that we've talked about. Jarrell Casey's gone, Wesley Woodyard's gone. I mean, there's been a lot of those, Delaney Walker, that have been in that locker room, that have been leaders, that have now left, and it's time for the next wave. You brought up Kevin Byard. He's by far one of those guys. But when you look at Taylor Lewan, what are some things that you see from him that tell you, hey, that's a guy that could command a locker room and be a leader?
Taylor's different because he's very outspoken. He's very outspoken. I know everybody loves him. And, he plays with a mean streak, and probably one of the most athletic guys that I've ever seen when it comes to a guy of his stature. I would say, though, for him to become that guy, he has to walk the walk. And what I mean by walk that walk is, we all seen it, and nobody's perfect. And again, I would love to play with Taylor any given day of the week, because he's that guy that's going to give it all he got when he's on the field. But it's just walking that walk every day. Sometimes it's better to be seen than to be heard. A guy like Mike Roos, who was a team captain, that played had a great career with the Tennessee Titans, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, everything else. Very quiet. No one ever heard anything from him. But you knew he was going to do everything the right way. And again, that's what I mean. Sometimes it's better to be seen than to be heard. And you see guys like, Kevin Mawai was there, Hall of Famer. Talked a lot, but again, he backed it up.
Right.
So it's if that's the role that you want, and that's the role that you're aiming for, it's you got to walk the walk. That means you have to do everything. If you're hurt, you got to find a way to play through it. You gotta, you gotta be that guy that they can count on no matter what. And that's what gains everybody trust. That's what gets everybody to start saying, hey, I want to be like that guy. And do I think he can do it? No question. I think he can. He was young, and I think now he's getting older, he's mature, and it kind of that position falls on you because when you're the highest paid offensive tackle in the league, that's
Right.
pretty much what – if you're the highest paid running back, highest paid quarterback, highest paid safety, you got to take ownership of that. Because no matter what, whether it's your teammates, everybody around the league is looking at you. The media and everybody wants to talk to you. Every player coming into the league at that position want to be you. So you automatically, you got to accept that and embrace it. And you got to walk that walk. And you got to prove and show each and every week.
How difficult is it though, as a player of, I mean, you guys, you put your bodies on the line each and every play, and so you make a good chunk of change. I mean, you make a good living. I mean, that's a part of playing the game. And obviously, Derrick Henry's somebody that's talked about right now. He's on the franchise tag, hopes to get a long-term deal. But with that position, and in this league how tough it is on running backs, like, what do you think the conversations are like for him as he tries to contemplate, okay, I got this 1-year deal right now, but I want to get what I can get out of my next contract. So what do you think is going through his mind?
I don't know because again, it's and I hate to say it because he plays one of the positions, and again, we know that the team rode him throughout the entire season. They rode him, and he did a great job, fantastic job. You always question how much more does he really got in the tank. No, that's only for God to know. Especially with the running style that he does run with. I think what hurts him is when you see guys that got paid before him. When you see the Ezekiel Elliott's, when you see
Gurley.
from the Rams, just went to
Gurley.
Gurley, there you go.
Yeah.
When you see Gurley, when you see Le'Veon Bell, these three guys were like all pros, and then all of a sudden they got paid, and then you're like, what happened? Gurley's hobbled with injuries. Zeke, he fought the whole offseason about getting a deal. Did he train the way he needed to train? We all know he was having a great vacation, but was he training the way he was supposed to? What's the name? Le'Veon Bell sat out an entire year, and, did that hurt him? Was he not the same player? Or was he surrounded by great players with Big Ben and Antonio Brown and Smith-Schuster, and was he surrounded by all these great guys around him that allowed him that when you're worried about a guy that can, any given time can take the ball, 100 yards on the outside like Antonio Brown, does that loosen up that front seven or load the box with 8 or whatever, because you got to worry about that guy. So again, I think that's what hurts him, because you always think about that in the back of your mind when it comes to that position. And so, but do I think Derrick Henry is that type of player? I don't think so. I mean, I've been watching him all offseason through social media, and he's a workhorse. Yeah. I remember watching him when he went back to school at Alabama. I mean, he's working late at night. And then I remember when I was interning, this dude stayed in the weight room constantly. I think that's just his mindset. I think he's just a guy that wants to be the best that ever played his position. So would I trust him more? I think I would trust him more because he's not very vocal and outspoken about this contract situation. He's very quiet about it, and he's just going about his business. Even with this whole COVID-19 thing, I'm 99.9% sure that he did not miss a day in that weight room.
Yeah. I mean, and it shows. You brought up Mike Vrabel earlier and how he's out on the field and he'll show you. I remember, I guess it was last year during training camp, I was there, and they were doing some drills with the running backs, and Vrabel had his little pad on, and he was lined up against them. And he gets down in his stance, and he looks up and he sees Derrick, and he just goes, "Oh, bleep." And because he knows he's about to get run over, and Derrick just ran right through him.
I promise you. I remember when I first left, I remember everybody called me and was like, "Dude, we tried to save your seat in the team room, and it's like the biggest man we have ever seen sat in your seat." And I said, it was Damian Stafford, and he was like our tough DB guy. And he was just like, I said, hey, man. And he said, he stood up and goes, this somebody's seat? And he said, when he stood up, I just stopped and was like, hey, what position you play? He's like, I play running back. He said, oh, okay. So I guess we got to hit you every day in practice. Wow. Where did they find this guy? And he was like, dude, I promise you, that's the biggest. And I seen him for the first time during the end. I was just looking. I'm just like, where did they date these guys? Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't even look real. Like, it don't look real when you see him. Like, and then you watch him work and watch him run and see how fast he is. It's just amazing. So, I mean, he's blessed. But, I mean, again, he earns everything that he gets because, I mean, he works.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. So during this time, you mentioned quarantine and being stuck in the house. One thing that's been fun has been watching old games, and
Mhm.
I've been able to catch up on some things, and like I know a lot of us have. But ESPN showed the '06 Rose Bowl, Texas
Mhm.
USC, one of probably my favorite college football game of all time, if I'm being honest. And I didn't have a dog in the hunt. It was a great game. You lived it,
Mhm.
obviously being a part of that. So what was that? What was that night like? You got to play with Vince Young again with the Titans, but watching him work that night for Texas.
It was my first time to actually watch him play because as long as I've been on the same team with him, while he's out there on the field, I'm on the sideline making sideline adjustments. So that was my
Sure.
first time actually getting to watch him play. I rewatched it, did something for the Longhorn Network, and it just really amazed me. Some of the things that he did in that game, especially when you look at that defense, you had Ray Magaluga, you had Brian Cushing, AJ Hall, Keith Rivers, you name it. They was on the other side of that ball. And just to watch all the things that he did, it was amazing. In that game alone, we laughed because we laughed Jamal Charles. There was a play where he almost fumbled, but he did. So all of us still hang out with each other here. Jamal Charles, Brian Rackpo, Michael Huff, just to name a few of us. So we laughed because we looked on the stat sheet and we were like, Rack, where was you at that entire game? We saw Rack had one tackle. So during the game, as we were watching, we saw the tackle. He was like, Rack, great tackle. He got so mad at us. He goes, I'm glad that I was able to turn Texas around after y'all left. It was just inside joke going on. But again, just watching Vince, I mean, it was just amazing. When you really look at, I mean, I will say Joe Burrow, passing quarterback, I ain't never seen anything like that in my life, especially when I got to watch him LSU versus Texas this year.
Yeah.
But just all-around athlete, a guy that just could take a game over by himself. I still have not seen a quarterback that's able to do what Vince can do. I mean, I saw Cam Newton play against Oregon in the national championship. I've seen Sean Watson play. But when you just see a guy that could just take over a game, let alone you had young Jamal Charles, who again I think overall in the NFL histories, yards per carry, he's number one all time in that. But he was a pup then. We had Selman Young or Mons Taylor was our two primary running backs. But again, wide receivers, I don't think we had anybody in that group outside Lama Sweet make it to the next level. So you see a guy that can literally just go out there and make things happen by himself. It was very, very, very amazing.
What was the biggest difference between Vince when he was at Texas and then when he got in the NFL?
I was the biggest difference. I don't know. I don't know. It was just something about him and the offensive side and the Fisher and everything else.
Right.
Something wasn't clicking. That was out of my jurisdiction. I was on the defensive side of the ball. We had the top defense in 2008, and I really don't know. It was just something
Yeah.
over there that wasn't clicking. It was just something. I don't know if it was, you really don't know what happened behind closed doors. I just remember that last game where, shoulder pads and stuff went in the stands, and he got put on IR, and they told me he was going to be back the very next season. Then Fisher got fired, and I remember talking to him before he walked out the locker room. That whole thing, they said that I was chasing him, and me and him got into a big pushing fight, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I just remember trying to talk to him and just tell him like, relax, chill out. I understand you're upset, and he's a competitor, and I know he was upset because he wanted to go back in the game, but he couldn't control the ball. I believe he hurt his thumb, and he couldn't control the ball with his thumb, and so he tried to put a glove on everything. The ball kept selling, And for the team, what was best was for him not to play and put Kerry Collins in. And I guess he wanted to go back in. He wanted to win that game versus the Redskins, which I still blame Brian Orakpo today for that game. That he's the reason why Vince left the Titans. But I don't know, something about that offensive side of the ball in him, it just didn't click. And I don't know if it was the coaches. I know the coordinators and stuff kept changing. I know he liked to play in the shotgun. They tried to put him under center. I don't know. That was on that side of the ball.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. You brought up 2008 though, and what that run was like, and you're in, I guess, year 2 at that point, and but that defense was unstoppable, and in the offense too. I mean, Chris Johnson was going. You mentioned Kerry Collins, and that up until, I guess, this past run, and even a couple years ago with Malarkey making the playoffs, but that was like the last time that this city had really seen the Titans have that type of success. So it's hard to believe that it took that long, but that was a magical run. I know you guys had to enjoy it.
Oh, most definitely. It was fun. I remember it was at 11-0. I remember Javon Curse, which was crazy. He came back. Lindell White, Chris Johnson. We were just having fun. It was just fun to go out there. Cortland was having a season of his life. Nick Harper was on the tail end of his career, but having a great year. Me and Chris Hope in the secondary. David Thornton, Keith Bullock. It was just a great. And then on that front 4, 5, 6, we had a rotation going up there. It was Kyle Vanden Bosch, Albert Hainsworth, Tony Brown. We had Jason Jones would come in.
Yeah.
He was young. He was a rookie. I remember his best games ever was playing against Pittsburgh. For some odd reason, whenever he played against Pittsburgh, he was guaranteed 2 or 3 sacks. Odom was on the line, Travis LeBoy. I mean, you name it. They were just rotating in there. And it was just something. It was just magical. Everybody was just running on all highs. And again, we was just having a lot of fun on that defense side of the ball. And on the offense, it was just exciting to watch. You know, Chris Johnson, when everybody questioned that we drafted Lindell White the year before I got there. Then you drafted Chris Henry my year, the second round. Then you came back and drafted Chris Johnson. So you had 2 second round and 1 first round running back 3 years in a row. And Chris Johnson, Lindell White, a smash and dash thing. It just took off.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I got to work with Derek Mason, who was on that Ravens team, and we didn't bring that game up because I didn't want to hear him trash talk. Because as you may know, D Mace liked to trash talk.
Oh my God, the clock ticks 0, and we all looking at the clock, and the tight end catches the ball to kick a field goal. Not to mention, we missed 2 field goals and fumbled the ball. We should have won the game. We just, I don't know. It still hurts me to this day that it was the best opportunity we had in a long time, which outside of this year. But I mean, we were running on all cylinders that year. It was like we lost. I remember our first game we lost was to the Jets. I remember Brett Favre. It was like I remember he winked at me and he threw the ball the other side for a touchdown. I was like, what did the wink mean? It was just I was on the right side. He winked at me and threw a fade to my left side. I was just like, he winked at me. He goes, Barr's out there having fun. He does stuff like that. I was like, oh, I forgot, Coach, you played against him too. I remember. Okay, so it makes sense. But yeah, that year was real fun, very fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, Michael, it's been fun catching up with you and just talking about old times. Appreciate you taking the time tonight to come on with us, and best of luck. Safe travels when you do come to Nashville, and Gigi's Cupcakes. Hope that continues to go well and the kids. But good to see you.
Hey, good seeing you, and thank y'all very much, and appreciate you having me on.
Awesome.